the Baylor Bears were the big winners of the NBA draft early into the process because they got pretty much every one of their big guys back.
Right, and sorry, I missed out on what you said about Kansas. We had a little bit of a Zoom breakup, but I'm back. So Baylor, they were robbed of their chance at making the national title game. Now, it seemed like they peaked a little bit too early last year, especially with their loss to Kansas, and then they fell down and dropped 2 other games in the Big 12 play. But they are gaining 2 4-star recruits. They're getting those recruits based on the fact that they seem like they're starting to become a top-tier program in the nation, and they're returning their entire core, which was extremely good defensively. Kansas and Baylor were 2 of the best defensive teams in the nation last year, and I'd expect both those teams, especially Baylor, to retain that status. Now, they're going to need to improve offensively, similar to Texas, and Scott Drew, their head coach, he needs to figure it out because it seemed to me like he lost that game against Kansas, and as the head coach of a very good basketball team, you cannot be responsible for losing the game against an elite team like Kansas. It's got to be up to your players, getting beat on the floor or missing shots. It can't be you. You saw last year they could not defend. They could not defend the screen and roll. It was a problem, and he just did nothing to fix it in multiple games towards the end of the year last year. So if he can have another great year coaching like he was towards the middle of the year, and the Baylor defense continues where it is, and their offense improves from last year, this team is certainly a national title contender.
And you mentioned the coaching. There's no excuse because for me, this is a team that might be the deepest in the entire country, and this could be number 1 seed or bust for the Baylor Bears. With everyone coming back, you have depth on both sides of the court. Front court depth, that's even without Freddie Gillespie, and the backcourt depth with some of your returnees and your newcomers, which includes a top 100 freshman point guard and a transfer from Presbyterian and Adam Flagler, who had nearly 16 points a game 2 years ago. A team that you cannot let your game plan get in the way because the players you have are the best of the best are NBA stars, are going to be NBA stars, and that includes Jared Butler, that includes Mikhail T. For sure, those are a couple guys that I see going into the NBA next season. Whenever this whole thing gets settled down, because everything with the calendars and COVID, it's going crazy right now. So we'll let things to the calendar play itself out. But right now, I think coaching cannot get in the way of the deepest team in the country, in my estimation. A team that is a little more clear as a Big 12 favorite than it was last year. And I think that's because it's a little more of the question that Kansas has going into the season of can they replace Azubuike and Dotson? And I think that to me makes Baylor a clear favorite in my estimation here, Dom.
Right. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe they were unranked at the beginning of last year. This year, they were projected top 5 team at the beginning of the year. So it shows. It's a model for building a team that's, in the middle of the pack into becoming an elite team. Get a core of players and keep them, and then have them establish themselves, get their chemistry built, and then have them be together in their junior and their senior years so that they can win a national title potentially. This Baylor team has the potential to be a model that we've seen, and I think that they're certainly the Big 12 favorites.
And yeah, I do think that they are, again, Big 12 favorites, national contenders, without a doubt. You could see that with Blue Ribbon putting them 3rd and Cats putting them 2nd. A team that is clearly among the national favorites. And that, to me, warrants a Big 12 title. Now, whether they can get up there and try to sneak their way back up to where they were, that's going to be very interesting because Baylor, from 13-0 to 15-3, I think it's fair to say they blew it last year, and they kind of blew their chance of getting that Big 12 title. If Kansas is going to get back that Big 12 title, they are going to have to do what they did last year, and that's just stay consistent throughout the end of the season because Baylor, they cracked under the pressure of having to win a Big 12 title. They cracked under that pressure, and if they do that again, I think Kansas is going to be right there for the taking again.